There we go. Well, up on center stage, we have with us is Dr. Todd Ullah, and his conversation here is STEM as a superpower. And we are so excited that you're here because everybody needs a superpower now, Todd.
That's right.
So, if you wouldn't mind, would you please just share a bit of your background? Where are you located, and just a little bit about what you do?
Sure. And thanks for having me here. And I'm just really happy to hear everyone's presentations this morning. It all resonates in the world of education that we kind of live in. I'm a longtime educator, spent most of my career in LAUSD, Los Angeles Unified School District. I live here now in San Diego. Sat in most of the chairs and always been about kind of STEM and creating kind of emancipatory experiences for kids, especially kids that are not traditionally served in STEM and computer science areas. So it's been a mission of mine to see if I can create and close opportunity gaps for children across the country and giving them access to like the pipeline of the STEM jobs and the STEM world. There's so much to do in so little time,
No,
uh,
right?
you know, to
Indeed.
think about it. And the minds that we have in our classrooms today are they're just so full of ideas and ways to solve the problems of the future. And one of the things we do at EdForTech is we want to create tomorrow's leaders today. By creating access to critical thinking and spreading that across all subject areas, not just science and math. And so, what I'm doing now, I've been a principal and, one of the greatest jobs I ever had. And what Mike and Nick were saying really resonated with me as well as Angel in terms of, supporting and building capacity. And leadership is not static. It's dynamic and it's an unfinished product. And I really appreciate that. And now, as Angel was saying, with regard to the losses during the pandemic and in terms of social emotional learning and teacher burnout, these are real things that we have to deal with. Even in STEM, STEM creates especially for elementary educators, creates a lot of stress if they're not confident and wanting to understand how to implement STEM and science. And so what I currently do is I'm the chief strategy officer for a company called EdForTech. I left public education and went into teaching. I'm an adjunct professor at the University of San Diego in the leadership department there. And I also work with different companies and creating more opportunities for kids around the country. Companies like Amazon. It's been a fun journey for me, and so along the way, I was gobbled up by computer science, which is often you see STEM a lot, and a lot of people don't think about the impact of computer science on STEM and the
Sure.
fact that for teachers in K-12, the idea of teaching computer science is something that is a step beyond a lot of times. It's like, oh no, I can't do that. I mean, that's not my discipline, or I don't have the confidence to do that. So one of the things we want to do in EdForTech is to kind of build capacity,
Yeah.
teach STEM better, and definitely enhance learning.
What did, well, I'm going to
So
interject. I'm sorry, Todd, I'm going to interject here. You just said teach STEM better, right? So what does that mean? Teach STEM better, or we know that STEM learning is absolutely fantastic. It's good for kids, it's good for schools, it's good for the economy, it's good for the world. But what are those kinds of barriers? Is it, to your point, is there a specific way? Do we need to, we're not, it's like we have a mindset that we somehow don't know how to teach STEM, or what are those barriers
yeah,
that
some
prevent
of
it?
the that's a great question. Some of the pain points and barriers that we find in our work with teachers around the country is confidence. Does it align with the standards that we're teaching in the classrooms, and how do we integrate the kind of thinking that's related to STEM and computer science into a social studies classroom or an elementary classroom or or even physical education. And so one of the things we pride ourselves on, and something I bring to the table a lot in terms of strategy, is let's find ways to enable all teachers, educators as science educators, and find ways to lower the barrier of entry to teaching science by creating pedagogical tools and using access to content tools that allow them to feel comfortable with using some of the pedagogical turns and twists that we use in science to lower that barrier of entry. For instance, we do a lot of work around engineering design and science institutes. So engineering design and design thinking is a key that we use at Ed4Tech, because it can be integrated into every subject area, and it's awesome to see some of the flip videos and things that we do out of our trainings from teachers in social studies and ELA and math, doing engineering design principles and integrating robotics into their curriculum, and using the robots that we sell as a tool to enable all types of learners to satisfy their learning style. So those are the main things that we do to teach STEM better, is to kind of think about how does it integrate with all subject areas, and how does it align with standards.
So I'm going to use a real popular term today, and that's AI. How is AI playing in the STEM space there? What are you doing, if anything, with that these days, Todd?
Oh my goodness. I was just on a panel in here in San Diego at the ASU GSV conference. It's called the Air Show. And it was actually sponsored by Amazon. Amazon funded 15 companies to look at how artificial intelligence integrates into education. And so, during that panel, and what I saw throughout the conference was kind of 4 areas, or 3 or 4 areas really. AI as a tool, and how do you think about that in using that as a tool? Data analysis, using it to create prompts for lessons, for access to mentoring, finding ways to use it as a tool in the school setting. Second thing is AI as a subject. I mean, is that something that's going to be taught as a subject in schools? And it already is. There are lots of groups that are putting it together. If you go to Teach AI, which is put together by code.org, you'll see some beginnings, well, some not beginnings, but some really good content on, using AI as a subject and helping teachers use it. And then third, kind of in science, STEM, all subject areas, it's not just AI, is kind of everywhere, as you all know. It is about kind of the challenges and considerations that we as educators need to think about. And I think first and foremost is teacher training. So at the session, I ask everyone, and I ask you guys, how many teachers do you think actually use AI for educational purposes? What percentage? Just put it in chat. What percentage do you think?
I'll say 50%.
50%. Okay. So we got 50%. 30% from Angel. Okay, thank you. What do you think, Jane?
Jane thinks how many percentage of teachers are using AI?
20.
20. Okay.
All right. Well, a lot of research from that's been going on in terms of teachers using artificial intelligence shows that, and this is from Education Trust and Stanford and a few other, NECRL, of doing this research, and they're looking at 11% of teachers are using artificial intelligence to build lessons and to create experiences for their kids. And so the whole idea of teacher capacity, again, And for Tech Corp, one of the things we do is build teacher capacity.
Mm.
So the second question that came up was how many students use artificial intelligence in their educational pursuits? I'm not talking about Facebook or Instagram or Amazon. We all know that AI has been being used for many years. Many facets of AI have been used for many years in those platforms. But the use of large language models and LLMs for kids, what is the percentage of kids that are using that today? What do you
Ooh,
guys think? Put a number up there.
ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna say 5% maybe.
5%. Okay, thank you.
How about you, Jane?
What do you think, Jane? 15%. Angel, okay. Jane, 30%. All right, all right. Eric, any ideas?
Kids using AI.
Kids using AI for educational uses. Eric says 65%. So the research is showing us that 55% of children in K-12, with the majority of them starting in third to fifth grade, are using artificial intelligence to supplement their learning.
Mm.
And Brady's saying, yeah, it depends on SES in the area of 30%. Yeah, SES is one of the things we talked about is that what Mike and Nick were talking about in AI and science was this divide, right? Who has access and who doesn't, and how do they access these tools? And it is based on SES. That's what the research is showing us as well. And so there's challenges in terms of that third option for considerations in terms of teacher training and how kids access the use of artificial intelligence in science classrooms, in STEM classrooms, ELA, social studies, etc. So those are some of the things we think about. And one of the things that comes out really clearly in the research is in the work that I've been doing is the whole idea around data privacy
Yeah.
and preparing districts and communities related to policy on what responsible use of AI is and what that means to each community. As Nick and Mike were saying, and probably Brady, you probably agree as well. I mean, communities have varying aspects of acceptance, and again, from research shows that low SES, communities have a very, very shallow zone of tolerance for accepting policies, whereas higher SESs are deep and wide, so they don't have as much tolerance and will really dive into these areas. So it's really important for us to think about responsible use of AI. And there are districts starting to pop up around the country, whether it be science, math, or whatever, are really starting to think about those things, Rebecca.
Very, very good. Very good. We know that as our schools, they struggle with having access to resources. We understand, and I wonder as we think of that what are some low cost and creative ways that they might be able to upgrade STEM learning? And maybe it can be simple as interjecting or using AI as part of a program of learning, but what are some easy ways to be able to just execute kind of that STEM model of learning? Todd, do you have some thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think in education, the word easy has a lot of different meanings.
What is easy in
It,
education, right?
especially when it comes to STEM. There's a lot of virtual tools out there in the game right now, Rebecca. There's a company called Game Plan that offers esports and gameplay for grades 3 through 12,
Nice.
and it connects to all the things the kids like: Roblox, Fortnite, Gentleman's Query, all of the things that the kids are doing. It connects to those types of game platforms. There's also other groups like Coders Inc. that are virtual learning, where you get to take and kids go on missions to create and program virtual robots. For instance, they're Amazon Future Engineer partner, and kids actually, one of the challenges is to program an Amazon robot to deliver a gift to your friend or a loved one.
Do they
And
have like,
actually,
I'm sorry, Todd, do they have light versions and then paid versions of these programs that you're talking about?
these are all paid versions.
Okay,
These are resource versions.
okay.
They have obviously demos and things that you can use to do that. The Amazon tools are all no cost. So
Oh,
if you go to Coder Z and you go to the Amazon Future Engineer, you're going to have to put in your district's identify that your district's Title One, and if it's your Title One district, all of the programming is free. So those tools are available for virtual learning, and many others. I could go on. Uh, and there are also other types of ways that kids can build capacity and teach STEM in the classrooms. I personally think that the virtual spaces are great, and kids are off there, as we both know, as Angel was saying, in after this pandemic, they're all into the virtual world. In fact, you got to pull them off the machines to get them to go outside and play.
yeah.
So what we do at Ed4Tech is we really look at making robotics, having kids actually do kinesthetic learning that associates with both auditory and visual learning. And then that way the collaboration piece happens, as Angel was saying, social emotional learning, kids that are born or young during the pandemic, their socialization is quite different than kids that were born before. And looking at teacher capacity, Gen Z kids today that are going into that marketplace are really different learners in terms of how we approach them. So that kinesthetic piece in planning your STEM program, I think it's very important, and we need to go back to that even more. In fact, we have our pre-K to 2 curriculum for kids that is screenless, and it teaches kids algorithmic thinking, loops, and social emotional skills and learning through a robotic device. And teachers love it. I mean, kids love it because it's
Yeah.
something that they can dress up, they can do different things with, they can work with their 2 or 3 people at a time in the classroom and work together to solve challenges. Because in the end, in every workplace you can think about, that's what you're going to be doing anyway, is working in teams and challenging problems together. So those are the types of ways that I see in a spectrum of cost. There's always going to be a cost of these.
Yeah, that was really good. Okay. So what we were talking about were the professional development opportunities. That's where we were going with what were available. And you were whipping off some really good resources.
Yeah, those are Coder Z is a really good one. Coder Z, Game Plan, and these are all .com.
Okay.
And then code.org. There's Teach AI.
Oh, nice.
These are all really good resources for STEM learning.
Thank you for dropping those in the chat. Those are really important. Appreciate that. Well, as we move forward, as we talk about technology, AI is, we thought that technology in the first 20 years of this 21st century really exponential growth. What we're seeing with AI clearly is beyond exponential growth, right? And how technology is rapidly accelerating change. And so how can K-12 STEM education best adapt and evolve to ensure students are learning the most relevant future-ready skills for college and careers? What can we do to help our students, Todd?
Well, I think Eric was talking about it. I mean, districts really need to develop their approaches to responsible uses of AI because it's going to be used by teachers more and more. every week, if not every day. And so we have to adapt to that and make sure we have the tools in their hands to make sure that they can reach their students in ways that are most important for their kids' learning. And along the way, one of the big things that we have to think about is trust and reliability, and making sure that the sources that are being used to support uses of AI in the classroom are valid, and making sure that they are really checked well, so that we can be sure that kids and teachers can do the work that they need to do to prepare for tomorrow. The other thing I think that's really, really important in this age is to think about connections to college and career, CTE specifically. And so we're doing a lot of work at for Tech to think about how we bridge that gap so that we shorten the time to degree. Because as I said, Gen Z kids, we're finding out, they want to be able to touch stuff. They want to be able to learn by doing. And they're not as trustful as old guys like me were, of you get the college degree and then you're going to get a job. They're not as trustful of that viewpoint. So I think school districts and states need to really be thinking about how to align, especially in the areas of STEM, how to align student learning to actual job force needs. And companies are all about that. We're forming a big partnership right now with Mitsubishi, both the electronic division as well as the automation division. And so right there at Parkland College in Illinois is a group that we're working with to bring these types of shortened job to degree to job programs. And I think that needs to start in like third or fourth grade, so kids can get a really good idea of what's out there and how best to attack their interest in these areas. So those two things together, I think, are super important in answer to your question.
Very good. Following up on your comment there, I think it's we are starting to see industry such as Mitsubishi or Amazon or Google or whatever, they're developing their own grow your own workforce training program and development. And they're investing those resources. And so to your point, working with your local colleges and really creating partnerships, intentional partnerships, right? To figure out what
Absolutely.
That's critical, absolutely, with what you're doing. And I think the work you're doing is just amazing because you're doing that very thing.
Yeah, we are. And, we're in 5 states. We're looking at how do we create concentrator programs, capstone projects for high school kids? How do we offer dual credits for kids, especially kids in low SES areas, where they can get both college credit and high school graduation credit to accelerate their approach to these areas and areas of employment. And don't forget, the Biden administration and many, many states have put out the pre-apprenticeship program, just as a FYI, that pays industry, pays students up to $15,000 a year to do an apprenticeship in any of the 15 industry sectors that are recognized in the U.S. California specifically has one for community college districts, for instance, that awards districts and students with that shortening time to degree options around dual credit, around approaching these industry sectors and identifying what types of programs and jobs would be available for kids. And so it's huge. It's really, really important right now. And I suggest we all look at that and really use that as a lever to help kids, enter the workforce and college, because eventually, what they're going to do. They're going to say, okay, I went to work for Mitsubishi as a technician with robotic arms and claws and things, and now I want to be an electrical engineer. So they're going to take that experience and then go get that degree. And I got a kid right here in my house. He went to community college, my son, He went to community college. He didn't know what he wanted to do. Gen Zer. Didn't know what he wanted to do. Went to automotive mechanics at Mira Mesa College here. Went to work for MTA on buses, right? Decided that he liked electrical components of MTA on the buses. And now he's a senior at San Diego State doing electrical engineering.
Wonderful.
And so it's part and parcel of what I'm talking about. And these kids, they want actionable things more than ever. And I really truly believe that. Even the youngest kids are looking at that. That's why I go back to saying all three types of learning are critically important right now for students.
God, I could talk to you all morning. This is such a fascinating topic, and I am just so thankful that you are there holding down our West Coast and moving east, I bet.
We are. Yeah,
Right?
we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, right? And so I want to thank you so much. I believe you have a little something you were going to drop in the chat if you
Yeah,
want.
it's just a little planning tool that you can share with your districts and things. Let me see, how do we drop that in?
Can you